ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد, this is another lesson that we're having. I believe it's the third lesson that we're having with our sisters in Australia. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make the gathering beneficial for ourselves in this life and the next. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us from amongst those who hear that which is of benefit and we act upon it, spread it and spread it. In this lesson we will read from the introduction by Sheikh Al-Walid Muqbil bin Hadi Al-Wadi'i rahimahullah ta'ala. He wrote an introduction to the book of his daughter, which is my advice to the female. And briefly, there's a benefit that we can take from the likes of Sheikh Muqbil rahimahullah ta'ala, and that is, and I'm not sure if I mentioned it in last week's introduction, but very briefly, Sheikh Muqbil rahimahullah ta'ala is an individual that Allah Azza wa Jal, and actually we did somewhat mention it, we said that Allah blessed him rahimahullah ta'ala because he was able to combine between seeking knowledge and between traveling to meet the scholars and likewise returning to his homeland and opening up a markets and teaching in that markets, likewise authoring books. And we mentioned those points in last week's lesson, that this was the blessing of Allah Azza wa Jal upon our beloved Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala. And with regards to reading from the book of his daughter, we're going to mention another thing which shows that Allah Azza wa Jal had blessed this Imam, and that is the fact that not only did he teach and author books himself, but he also had, other than students, he also had from his family members those who gained a strong level of knowledge and they became teachers and authors of books, such as his daughter, and likewise his widowed wife, Salama Salafiyya, likewise her as well. You know, she has books which are in the market, and his daughter Abdullah, she has books which are in the market, and these are his family members, which is another sign of the tawfiq that Allah Azza wa Jal had bestowed upon Sheikh Muqbil, Imam Muqbil rahimahullah ta'ala, because with other scholars you don't find, you might find a scholar who teaches but he doesn't have books, and then you might find scholars who have books but they don't teach. But have a scholar that teaches, opened up a market, authored books, and in addition to all of that, he has family members that have gained a strong amount of knowledge, and they have gone on to become teachers and authors of books, which is something tremendous, and it is a blessing that Allah Azza wa Jal has bestowed upon Sheikh Muqbil rahimahullah ta'ala, and it's very rare that you have a scholar today with all of those aspects, all of those blessings. It's very rare. something that Allah Azza wa Jal bestowed upon Shaykh Muqbil rahimahullah. In the introduction, he begins by mentioning the name of Allah Azza wa Jal and sending and praising Allah, sending the salams on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and upon his family members. And then he says, أما النصيحة فهي صالحة خصوصا لنساء بلدنا فإن الفهم العلمي عندهن حاضر جدا. He said, as for the book, then it is suitable, and more specifically for the women of our country. He's talking about Yemen. So verily, their Islamic knowledge, their Islamic understanding is decreasing tremendously. So the Sheikh rahimahullah ta'ala is mentioning that the book is very suitable, and more specifically for the women of Yemen. And because of that, obviously they have their affairs which affect them that may possibly not affect women in other parts of the world. So a person should understand that. They should understand that when they are reading the book, there may be many things which are directed toward the women of that society, and they may not necessarily be applicable to women in other societies. In terms of halal and haram, of course, that's the same. Whether what's halal, as Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan Habibullah Ta'ala mentioned, what's halal and haram in Saudi Arabia is halal and haram in America. So that's something we should understand. So the Sheikh Habibullah Ta'ala, the Sheikh Rahimahullah Ta'ala is saying that the book is suitable and it's good, and it's even better for the women of Yemen. Why? Because it addresses, not to say that the book is only for the women of Yemen, no, but at times it addresses their situation. So that's one thing we understand. Another thing we understand by that is that a person shouldn't read the book, because yes, we mentioned that the book is translated in English. A person shouldn't read the book, and when they come to something that's seemingly not applicable or doesn't address a situation which can take place in the West, whether it's England, America, Australia, and the like of that, a person shouldn't close the book and say this is not suitable. No, it's not. It is suitable. But obviously it's written by a female who was present in Yemen, and it's possible that she was considering much of the situation take place with the women there in Yemen. So she gave some focus to their situation, and that's something which is natural. That's something which is natural. But in general, the book is very good for women all over the world. So when a woman is reading the book and she comes across something which seems that it's only applicable to the woman, she should be patient, because thereafter is once again going to give general advice and the likes. Then he says, rahimahullah ta'ala, وَالنَّاسُ فِي شَأْنِ النِّسْوَةِ يَنْقَسِمُونَ إِلَى ثَلَاثَةِ أَقْسَامٍ. He said that when it comes to the affair of women affairs, people are divided. And when he says people, he's talking about males, husbands, fathers, uncles. They're divided into three categories. The first category is that which he's mentioning, that those who have allowed women absolute freedom. Those who have allowed women absolute freedom, and the women themselves demand absolute freedom. And understand something, Islam doesn't hold a woman to be a slave in terms of to her husband and the like of that. No, she is a slave. She's a slave to Allah Azza wa Jal. She's a slave to Allah Azza wa Jal. She's not a slave to her husband. Yes, الرجال قوامون على النساء بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض وبما أنفقوا من أموالهم. The rijal, the men, they are the protectors and the providers and the caretakers of the women. So that's something which is, yes, because the woman, the nature of the woman is that she is weak and she needs someone to take care of her. She needs someone to protect her. She needs someone possibly to provide for her and the likes of that. So Allah Azza wa Jalla, this is something that Allah Azza wa Jalla has decreed. And Allah Ta'ala says, Antum a'lam amillah. Are you more knowledgeable than Allah Azza wa Jalla? So Allah Ta'ala, this is something that He's decreed, and it's something that we have to submit to. But we don't consider that the woman is a slave to her husband. No. The marriage is a mutual relationship between the man and the woman and like that. But obviously, there are certain things that Islam has limited. And the man being the head of the household, he cannot allow his wife to do that which is displeasing to Allah Azza wa Jalla. He cannot allow his wife to do that which is displeasing to Allah Azza wa Jalla. So Shaykh Muqbil Rahimahullah Ta'ala, he mentions here that some people have basically abandoned the woman to do what she wants. To travel without a mahram and to work in an environment that is mixing and the like of that. And this affair is extremely dangerous. This affair is extremely dangerous. And once again, the ayat where Allah says, Antum a'lamu amillah. Are you more knowledgeable or is Allah? Are you more knowledgeable or is Allah? Allah Azza wa Jalla is the one who decreed and legislated and mandated that a woman has to have a mahram, a male guardian with her when she travels. This is something which is legislated by Allah Azza wa Jalla. This is not for the opinion of the people. And we should understand that Islam and its legislation is suitable for every time and every place, even if circumstances change. Even if circumstances change. So it's possible that you have the safety and security in women traveling on planes and the likes of that, but this does not mean that we have to compromise the legislation of Allah Azza wa Jalla. We do not compromise the legislation of Allah Azza wa Jalla. That which Allah decreed 1400 years ago is that which Allah decreed until Yawm al-Qiyamah. اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. Today I have concluded your religion, I have concluded my favor, and I am pleased with Islam as your religion. So Allah Azza wa Jalla has completed the favor upon the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and Allah is pleased with Islam. وما كان لمؤمن ولا مؤمنة إذا قضى الله ورسوله أمرا أن يكون لهم الخيرة من أمرهم. It is not for the believing man nor the believing woman that if Allah Azza wa Jalla and His Messenger decree an affair, that they have any say-so in the matter. That they have any say-so in the matter. ومن يعص الله ورسوله فقد ضل ضلالا مبينا. And whoever disobeys Allah and His Messenger, they have gone far astray. So this is the way of the belief. We stop where Allah has legislated that we stop. And we submit. Submi'na wa ata'na. We say we hear and we obey. And so that is one of the first category of people, is that they have abandoned the woman to do as she wishes and to do in opposition to the legislation. والقسم الآخر يحمل النساء بدون تعليم. And the second, ويتركوهن مثل الأنعام فلا تعرف مما أوجب الله عليها شيئا. And the second category is those who have abandoned the female, but in a different sense. They have abandoned them, not teaching them anything. So they don't know what is obligatory upon them. They have left them like animals. They have left them like animals. And she doesn't know her religion. She doesn't know what's obligatory upon her. She doesn't know when you have some people, some women, and we shouldn't say, oh, this is in Yemen. No, you have in America. You have in America or in Australia, in England. You have some women that have been Muslim for years and they don't know how to pray. They don't know the afkar of the salat. They don't know the correct recitation of al-Fatiha. You have this. So this is another deficiency. the Sheikh Habibullah Ta'ala, as the Sheikh Rahimahullah Ta'ala mentioned, فهي معرضة للفتن. So when you do so, then she is approachable for trials and tribulations. وَلِمُخَالَفَةِ أَوَامِرِ اللَّهِ. And likewise, obviously what's going to take place is that she falls into that which is in opposition to the legislation. Why? Because she hasn't learned. She said, لِإِفْسَادِ أُسْرَتِهَا وَالْإِسْتِجَابَ لِكُلِّ نَائِقٍ. But in fact, because of her not learning her religion and knowing what's upon her and what are her rights and the like of that, this will lead her to possibly be a means of destruction for her own family. This will lead her to possibly be a means of destruction to and for her own family. Why? Because obviously, if she doesn't know what's obligatory, she doesn't know what's halal, what's haram, she's going to indulge in that which is forbidden. She's going to cause harm upon herself. She's going to cause harm upon her husband. She's going to cause harm upon her children, all because she hasn't learned. Or because she hasn't learned. And walillah alhamd, it's the mercy of Allah as a result that the means of learning have become extremely easy. The means of learning the religion have become extremely easy, where the books are present online, the lectures are broadcasted live, the recordings are present, the rules of the ulama are broadcasted live, the books of the ulama are being translated. All of this is the hujjah of Allah Azza wa Jal upon the creation. وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. We will not punish the people until we send a messenger. And that is the hujjah of Allah. This is the hujjah of Allah Azza wa Jal upon the creation. Far and wide. You have Salafiyya, you have Islam and Salafiyya in its purest form. Islam in its purest form, which is Salafiyya, you have it spread in the far parts of Russia, the far parts of China, all the way in Australia, in Maldives, in Africa, in Canada, in Alaska, in South America, all parts of the world. You have Islam in its purest form, which is the hujjah of Allah Azza wa Jal being spread. وقسم وسط, and you have the middle course, which is يقوم بتعليمهن في حدود الكتاب والسنة امتثالا لقول الله عز وجل يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة. And the middle category or section is those who teach the women in the limits of the Quran and the Sunnah, and they do so in accordance to the statement of Allah Azza wa Jalla in Surah Al-Tahrim, O you who believe, save yourselves and your family from the hellfire. Save yourselves and your family from the hellfire, whose fuel is men and stone. Fuel is men and stone. So in this statement of Allah Azza wa Jalla in Surah Al-Tahrim, it's informing that it is incumbent upon the men of the Ummah to save themselves and their family. Some of the ulama of Tafsir say that when Allah says save yourselves, this is including your wife and your children, because they are from you. And your family, such as your extended family. Some of the ulama of Tafsir says, when it says, save yourselves, this is not meaning you, and the second part of the verse meaning your wife and children. No. When Allah says save yourselves, meaning your wives and your children, because they are from you. Because they are from you. Then Shaykh Mustafa rahimahullah ta'ala goes on to say, وَمَا ثَبَتَ فِي الصَّحِيحَيْنِ and Ibn Umar, that is authentically reported in the two Sahih, which is Sahihain, and Bukhari and Muslim. The authority of the son of Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu anhuma, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. All of you are shepherds, and all of you will be held responsible for the flock. incumbent upon the minister to implement and to act upon that which Allah has ordered, because you will be asked about. And we should understand, you will be asked about your family. We should understand that there are several things that people will be asked about. You'll be asked about, as you know, the first thing you have to ask that is salah. And the questioning even starts from the grave. من ربك وما دينك وما نبيك ومن نبيك. So the questioning begins from the grave. But on Yom Al-Qiyamah you have other questioning as well. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned that as well. The Prophet said the person's feet will not be removed on Yom Al-Qiyamah until he's asked about three. So he's asked about three. But obviously, in this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ and Bukhari and Muslim, we will also be asked about our family. Everyone who is under our responsibility, everyone who we were responsible for, you will be questioned about. The man will be questioned about his family. The wife will be questioned about her children and her husband's home. So everyone, and the ruler will be questioned about the society which were under his rulership. So everyone is going to be questioned. Then the Shaykh Rahimahullah Ta'ala says, وَأَعْدَاءُ الْإِسْلَامِ حريصون غاية الحرص على إضلال المرأة بأنواع الدعايات الكاذبة فإن إليه راجعون. He said the enemies of Islam are very extremely diligent in leading the woman astray with all types of false claims. All types of false claims and calls and different types of propagation. And like that, verily from Allah we come and verily to Allah we will return. Naam, jidd. That is the kalam of the Shaykh Rahimahullah Ta'ala is jidd important. Yes, the enemies of Islam are very diligent in leading the woman astray. Why? Because she is the backbone of the family. Because she is the backbone of the family. We all know if there's no backbone, there's no structure. There's no backbone, there's no structure. Like the man, he's like the head, the woman is like the backbone, and Islam is the foundation. So Islam is the foundation. Or even say the house. Islam is the foundation, the woman is the pillars, and the man is the roof. The man is the roof. He keeps, he protects from above. The woman keeps structure from within. And Islam gives the foundation of the marriage, of the home, of the family. So now, the Shaykh is saying, Rahimahullah Ta'ala, is accurate and true. And that is that the enemies of Islam are very diligent, extremely diligent in guiding the woman, leading the woman astray. Allah says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ لِيَصُدُّوا عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Allah says in the Quran, verily, the disbelievers, they spend their money to distract from the path of Allah. To distract from the path of Allah. So that being the case, we need to understand. We need to understand that they intend to destroy. They intend to destroy all of us. The Shaitan himself. وقال الشيطان لما قضي الأمر إن الله وعدكم وعد الحق ووعدتكم فأخلفتكم. The Shaitan said, so that's what I mentioned in the Quran, when the affair is over, the affair of Yom Al-Qiyamah is over, the people in the hell and the people in Jannah, Shaitan will give a khutbah to the people of the hell. Shaitan will give a sermon to the people of the hell. And he will say, Allah promised you a true promise, and I promised you, and I went against my promise. To the end of the verses that we've mentioned many times in previous lectures. But the point is, they're very diligent, working day and night. He himself, Shaitan, and his troops are working day and night to guide all of us astray, and more specifically, the woman. And more specifically, the woman. Even some of Surah Al-Baqarah mentions, وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, that's what I mentioned in the Quran, and the disbelievers will say, I can't remember the verse. آمنوا وجه النهار واغفروا آخره. Allah mentioned that the disbelievers will say to their companions, believe in the beginning of the day. Believe in the beginning of the day and disbelieve at night. لعلهم لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. So that possibly they would return back to kufr. And you have people, subhanAllah, and you know that we all know this is our belief. It's obligatory. We're not believers if we don't believe that Allah is speaking the truth. Allah said the disbelievers say, believe in the daytime and disbelieve at night so that they can return. What is meant by that? That you have individuals that will claim to be believers for a period of time to come in the company of Muslims and possibly cause doubt amongst those Muslims, come in the company of weak Muslims and slowly pull them out of Islam. Slowly pull them out of Islam. This is something that we have to focus on, that there are plots. There are plots from the shayateen and ins wal jinn. There are plots from the devils amongst the jinn and the devils amongst the humans to lead you out of your religion. To lead you out of your religion. وَلَن تَرْضَ عَنْكَ الْيَهُودُ وَلَا النَّصَارَى حَتَّى تَتَّبِعَ مِلَّتَهُمْ. That's what God says. And the Jews and the Christians will never be pleased with you until you follow their religion. Until you follow their religion. So we have to keep this in mind. And we have to work in order to protect ourselves. Not that we know that they consider us to be enemies and a lot of that. No, but we have to work to protect ourselves. Protect ourselves with what? Protect ourselves with what? With beneficial knowledge and righteous deed. And beneficial knowledge encompasses aqidah and tawheed and minhaj and the like, and righteous deed. Beneficial knowledge, al-ilm al-nafi' wal-amal al-salih. Al-ilm al-nafi' wal-amal al-salih. That is what is going to protect us. Beneficial knowledge and righteous deed. Sheikh Rahimahullah Ta'ala goes on. فَعَلَى هَذَا, based on this, then wajib al-mar'ah, the obligation of the female, azim, is tremendous, is great. The obligation of the woman herself is great. In what? في نصح أخواتها ودعوتهن إلى الله وتحذيرهن من الفاتنين والمفتونين ومن الفاتنات والمفتونات. He said, so the obligation of the woman is tremendous in advising her sisters, guiding her sisters, directing her sisters, teaching her sisters, and calling them to Allah, and warning them from the people of fitna, from amongst the women and from amongst the men. The people of fitna and the callers to fitna. The people who have been afflicted and those who are calling, warning them. So notice the kalam of the Shaykh Rahimahullah Ta'ala. One, it's obligatory upon a woman to help her sisters. Two, calling them to Allah, to help them, to advise them, to guide them, to teach them, calling them to Allah. Three, warning them. Warning them, yes. Calling them to Tawheed, calling them to Sunnah, calling them to the correct manhaj, and warning them of the opposition. Because you have people today that say, I'll speak the truth, I'll teach them what's obligatory, I'll teach them what's correct, but I won't warn because I find people don't like this. And no, Islam is built on affirmation and negation. Islam, Allah Azza wa Jalla, throughout the Quran, from the beginning of the Quran to the end of the Quran, Allah mentions the path which is correct and the path which isn't correct. Starting from where? Starting from Al-Fatiha. Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. Did Allah stop? Did Allah say, sirat al-ladina an'amta alayhim, and stop? No. Allah says, غَيْرُ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. Allah says, guide us through the straight path. The path of those whom you have guided. Those whom you have blessed. Not the path. So Allah is warning. Allah Azza wa Jalla is warning. And then going to Surah Al-Baqarah, the next surah, Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah mentions the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah mentions the munafiqun. Allah at the beginning, in Surah Al-Fatiha, at the end of the surah, Allah Azza wa Jalla is warning of a path that we should not follow. Al-Maghdubi alayhim, nor ad-Dawleen. And then in Surah Al-Baqarah, which is the next surah, 1 or 2 pages after that, Allah Azza wa Jalla once again is warning us of the path of the munafiqun. And all through Surah Al-Baqarah, and all through Surah Al-Imran, and all through Surah Al-Nisa, all through the Quran. All through the Quran. So we can't be of those people that say, no, we just call the people to the truth. No, we call them to the truth and we warn them of the falsehood. We warn them of the falsehood. Then it says, then he, Rahimahullah Ta'ala, talks about the fact that it's not upon, it's not permissible for there to be mixed lectures where women and men sit together and gather together and the like. It's not permissible. But what is permissible is sisters have lessons with a male teacher from behind a barrier, from behind the screen in the masjid, or that the sisters get together in one of their homes and they read from beneficial books or they listen to beneficial lectures, they attend conferences. There's no fitna and ikhtilaf, there's no mixing, and the like. Then towards the bottom, the Shaykh Rahimahullah Ta'ala mentioned وعلى المرأة أن تدرس سيرة الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم وسيرة الداعيات اللاتي في زمن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said all is upon, and we're skipping some of the speech. Like I said, our methodology in reading the book from that which we would read from the book is that we take excerpts. We won't mention line to line, but you can read, if you have the book, the Arabic or the English translation, you can read line to line, but we will try to stick to the most beneficial portion of the book. He says, so it is upon a woman to study the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, especially because to see many things, many fawaid from the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. From amongst those fawaid, to see how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was an individual who was pure and trustworthy before Islam. See how he was pure and trustworthy before Islam. To see how Quraysh trusted him sallallahu alaihi wasallam before Islam, and then once he became a prophet and messenger, how they turned against him, even though they knew he was upon the haqq. Even though they knew he was upon the haqq. They knew that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam could not read or write. They knew that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was trustworthy. They knew that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam never told a lie. They knew that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam never worshipped idols and the like. But they turned against him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Jews knew about him before he arrived. They knew about him before he arrived. So all of this, so we know about the life of our beloved Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then, after him becoming a prophet and a messenger, the trials and the tribulations that he was afflicted with, him and the companions were afflicted with. This is very, very beneficial for the life, especially for the Muslims today. Because we see that the kuffar are coming at us, they are opposing Islam left and right. We see that the kuffar are opposing Islam left and right, and they're speaking very ill about the Muslims, and they're calling us terrorists, and they're calling us this, and they're calling us that. It was worse for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but he remained firm. And the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam remained firm. To see what they went through. Abu Bakr, when he became a Muslim, and he said his shahada at the Kaaba, the kuffar came and they beat him down to the ground until he became unconscious. And some of the companions picked him up and took him back home and said, we told you, do not profess your Islam in public. And he said, no, I want to. To see what they went through. Bilal ibn Rabah, how the boulder was placed on his chest, and just look at the hijrah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The fact that when he migrated in secrecy. Why? Because of the torture and oppression of himself. But there's so many benefits. Benefits in aqidah, benefits in to make your heart firm. Benefits in ahkam. Rulings like the fact that the Prophet ﷺ used a non-Muslim to guide him from Mecca to Medina. Shows you the permissibility of us using the kuffar for dealings which are permissible. So many things can be taken from the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then he said, and she should also study the history of the callers during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ma'am Aisha, how she was a scholar, how she was a faqiha. Sulaim, the mother of Anas bin Malik, Salama, the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and all of these females that were around during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How was their core? How was their firmness? How was their treatment of their husbands? How was their rearing of their children? How was their love and reverence of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? How was their ibadat? Aisha radiallahu anha mentioned that the women used to pray Salat al-Fajr and then they would return home immediately. So all of this, how they would seek knowledge. Aisha radiallahu anha said, may Allah have mercy, in the hadith of al-Bukhari, may Allah have mercy upon the women of the Ansar. They did not allow shyness to prevent them from seeking knowledge. So all of this is important for the Muslim woman to read, because she would become knowledgeable in her aqidah, she would become firm in her Islam. She sees what they went through of torture. She would have desire to seek knowledge. She sees examples of their seeking of knowledge. And he mentions Sulaim وغيرها من فضليات النساء الصحابة وتسلك مسلكهن إن كانت ترجو الله واليوم الآخر. He says, like for example, Sulaim, who mentioned the mother of Anas bin Malik, وغيرها, and other than them from the praised females from among the Sahaba, and she should tread their path if she wants Allah, if she wants to please Allah Azza wa Jal, and she wants salvation on the day of judgment. She wants salvation on the day of judgment. So this was some of the introduction. Shaykh Mustafa rahimahullah ta'ala. And next week we will continue bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And next week we will finish the introduction. And then we will go into her introduction. She herself has a short introduction. And then we will go into the first chapter, which al-haq al-ikhlas, al-mahafiz al-Allah, which is encouragement in being sincere and preserving on time. That's what we will begin start next week, inshallah. Allah, and I will bless us, Allah, Muhammad.